Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation for my music class at Hiram College, music appreciation. So, my project I've picked, I went with option 2, which was the multimedia. I decided to pick two bands. One I am a good fan of, I really like their music and stuff, pretty much can play it anywhere half the time. And that is Mötley Crüe. Now, the second band I have been interested in because I've heard their music every on and off, like on Spotify, Apple Music, and the radio, is Panic at the Disco. And I've heard they've been very popular lately, so I've been interested. So I did my research into Mötley Crüe just to round up my knowledge that I know of them. And I did tons on Panic at the Disco, just so I could learn more about them. So, reasons for picking these artists is that their music is very popular with the younger generation in their prime. So, Mötley Crüe, when they first started out, was back in the 80s, when prime rock and roll was going. That was the start of their band. And they were rocking it. So, they had just a rough start, but once they started catching heat, they just kept going. So did Panic at the Disco. So basically, they didn't take long for both bands and their music to start catching traction and becoming very popular. Their styles of music matched the mainstream for most popular music at the time, such as Mötley Crüe. They're mostly rock, punk rock, and that matched the 80s. While Panic at the Disco is sort of a pop rock. It's more of a lighter version of rock and roll that matches pop, and which is also a newer style of music. Their styles and lyrics of the music are very different, but the energy that they bring when you listen to it, or when you're in concert or live stage performance, is enormous. Like, the amount of energy is insane for their bands and the music they produce. Both bands do have top 10 Billboard chart songs, which is very impressive in my opinion. Usually your goal is to get top 10, so we'll speak more about that later. Then both bands are on the same playing field. Like, they're popular enough that Mötley Crüe has toured all over the world, and Panic at the Disco has toured all over the world also. So, further on, introducing Mötley Crüe. Mötley Crüe is an American heavy metal band formed in Los Angeles in 1981. The group was founded by bassist Nikki Sixx, drummer Tom Lee, and lead guitarist Mick Mars, and lead singer Vince Neil. Mötley Crüe has sold over 100 million albums worldwide. So starting out, basically the first three names, Nikki, Tommy, and Mick, they were the start of the band. It was mostly just Nikki and Tommy. Then they found Mick, which was their main guitarist. He was actually already a popular guitarist, he just wasn't part of a band yet, so they both picked him up. Then, going out and about, just working on music and things and looking for a lead singer, they ran into Vince Neil. Now, Vince Neil is that more charismatic lead singer that all the girls liked, and that's what they were looking for as a band to top off their band. They had every part of their band assembled. So they just started working on music, and their initial music caught fire, caught the eyes and attention of label artists, or label records and record companies, and they started going crazy. So the history of Mötley Crüe is actually an insane one. One of my sources I listed, it was historically accurate movie produced by Netflix Originals. It is called The Dirt, and the entire movie is based on Mötley Crüe from rise all the way to retirement, and the amount of details, stories, and anything else you could think of is covered by this movie. Now the cool thing is it's like part documentary and like just part live action, so I suggest checking it out if you want to learn more about Mötley Crüe. But basically, they, throughout the 80s, started catching tons of fans and popularity, and they were producing hit after hit. All their songs on the Billboard charts never went below top 50. Every song they produced were on the top 50 of the Billboard charts, which in my opinion, overall, that is outstanding because they've produced over 20 to 30 songs in their lifetime. So their band has had turmoil just like any other rock and roll band. They've fought, they've potentially split up. They've actually did split up and then got the band back together, I think once, just because of issues, and just like any other rock and roll band where they're just guys in their 20s, sex, drugs, anything you can name that's part of the rock and roll lifestyle or a rock star lifestyle, they did. And and the crazy thing is they actually were sort of like the lead of that, and they've actually invented new things that people never heard of, just crazy things like performance styles and just performance things. Their drummer, Tommy Lee, actually had a crazy idea during one performance. They were to bolt his drum set to a platform upside down, and he was to be strapped into his seat upside down. So he would play the entire concert while upside down. So the rest of the band, lead singers, the guitarist are normal, but he's just gets like not dropped, but slowly descends from the top of the performance stage while upside down on his drums and just performs song after song after song, which is crazy, I think. One heck of a performance, though. So, the Dirt autobiography film, which is in Netflix, we'll probably cover that too, if I remember right. Some of Mötley Crüe's best songs, if we look up on Spotify, is such as Kickstart My Heart, Girls, 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 Dr. Feelgood, Home Sweet Home, and Shout Out the Devil. Now I want to play a quick part of Kickstart My Heart just so you get a taste of their music, so you can compare it to Panic at the Disco. Let's go. That's a little taste of their music. If you want to learn more about them, just look them up on YouTube, Apple Music, or Spotify, and you'll find plenty more. Achievements by Mötley Crüe. 7 of their songs peaked and did reach top 10 billboards of all time. I think they held each spot 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 over the years. Not all at the same time, but their songs have had multiple 7 at least in the top 10, and like I stated earlier, all their songs are in the top 50 Billboard charts of all time. Mötley Crüe is known as an outstanding band that's very entertaining to watch in live performance, and their music is just very well produced and fans love it. Their music has been used in plenty of movies, video games, Such a recent one was Battlefield 2042's reveal trailer. They used the song Kickstart My Heart in it, and that got fans pumped up, both gaming fans and Motley Crue fans. So that was nice to see. Now going into Panic at the Disco. Panic at the Disco is a modern day aged band. They started as like a emo band solo project, but they have ever evolved into just a huge music performance. They first started out being super popular in the U.S. Then they slowly built their fan base over time, and just within the past decade they started gaining more traction. They've always been a popular band, but not until the point as of what they are now today. They have had band members switch in and out, but the picture as you see here is the original band. As you can see, their style is sort of like rock star, stylish, but emo, sort of like different from what the photo of Motley Crue that I had earlier. So some history of Panic at the Disco. It is a solo project of American musician Brendan Urie. It is originally a pop rock band from Las Vegas, Nevada, formed in 2004 by childhood friends Urie, Ryan Ross, Spencer Smith, and Brent Wilson. They recorded their first demos while they were in high school. Shortly after, the band recorded and released their debut studio album, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, popularized by the second single, I Write Sins Not Tragedies. The album was certified triple platinum in the U.S. In 2006, founding bassist Brent Wilson was fired from the band during an extensive world tour and subsequently replaced by John Walker. The band's second album, Pretty Odd, was preceded by the single 9 in the Afternoon. That album marked a significant departure from the sound of the band's debut. In other words, basically they changed up their style of music. Ross and Walker, who favored the band's new direction, departed because Urie and Smith wanted to make further changes to the band's style. Ross and Walker subsequently formed a new band, the Young Vanes, leaving Urie and Smith as the sole remaining members of Panic at the Disco. Continuing as a duo, Urie and Smith released a new single, New Perspective, for the movie Jennifer's Body, and recruited bassist Dallin Weeks and guitarist Ian Crawford as touring musicians for live performances. Weeks was later inducted into the band's lineup as a full-time member in 2010. The band's third studio album, Vices and Virtues, in 2011 was recorded solely by Urie and Smith in 2010. Produced by John Fieldman and Butch Walker, Crawford departed once the tour cycle for Vics and Virtues ended in 2012. As a three-piece band, Urie, Smith, and Weeks recorded and released the band's fourth studio album, Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, in 2013. Prior to the release of the album, Smith unofficially left the band due to health and drug-related issues, leaving Urie and Weeks as the remaining members. The duo recruited guitarist Kenneth Harris and drummer Dan Parlovich as touring musicians for live performances. In 2015, Smith officially left the band after not performing live with them since his departure in 2013. Shortly thereafter, Weeks reverted to being a touring member once again, resulting in Panic becoming Urie's solo project. In 2015, Hallelujah was released as the first single from Panic at the Disco's fifth studio album, Death of a Bachelor, 2016. In December 2017, Weeks officially announced his departure from the band. In 2018, Panic at the Disco released Say Amen Saturday Night, the lead single from its sixth studio album, Pray for the Wicked, which was released in June. The band, ever since then, has been very popular, and they've just toured the world, been to every continent, and they've just never just lost steam. Even switching in between band members every year nearly, they just never stopped producing music. Achievements by Panic! At the Disco. Many of their songs are very popular worldwide, but their music has to compete against a lot of other popular bands such as The Score, Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, and their music, Panic! At the Disco's music, just has a lot more competition, so their music hasn't been up higher, plus the different taste over time have been changing rapidly from hip-hop, rap, country. Like, it's just very turbulent time for many things. But they've been able to achieve 2 songs in the top 10 list. Now, I'm going to go to Spotify real quick and show you some of their number 1 song on Spotify, called High Hopes. And as you can see, it has 1 billion streams. Now, as you can hear from that, compared to Molly Cruz, they have a very distinct band styles, and they are very different all at the same time. But you can tell the song is going to be pretty good from the start and how high energy it is, and that probably, I hope it shows how much that translates into their live performances and the amount of energy that brings. Like, you get enough energy to, like, oh, this is a good song, but then you have a few thousand people in a stadium and they all think the same thing, and the amount of energy it creates is insane. So, comparison of the bands. Obviously the music style is different, but the energy they bring is all the same. Molly Crew, their band members, they've only had 2 replacements, and that is basically only due to drug and just partying too much. And partially, they never had creation, like production issues where band members split. I think that was their initial split before, but then the band was like, hey, that was silly, we need to come back together. But the other 2 people that were replaced the original band members were literally just because the other 2 people were just very sick or died, actually, due to health issues, drug issues, and other things. Panic! At the Disco, on the other while, they've traded members nearly every year, but the same 2 original guys have kept the band together, and they just haven't stopped, and they're very popular. Both bands have traveled the world, gone on multiple world tours. The funny thing is, both bands are still doing tours worldwide. Like, that's surprising for me when I did research for Molly Crew. Molly Crew is still technically doing tours worldwide, and I thought they stopped, but they have not. They just love doing it. They love producing music, or just playing their music for live audiences. So here's my bibliography, and that is it for my project. Thank you for watching.